I can't say more about that now, but it's an interesting story. The first uncomfortable aspect of Darwin's thinking about human nature is its unqualified progressivism, which is something actually present in his thinking ever since his encounter with the Tierra del Fuegians on the Beagle voyage as early as 1832. He wrote then that the difference between savage and civilized man was greater than that between wild and domesticated animals, inasmuch as in man there is a greater power of improvement. By the time he came to write The Descent of Man in 1871, this view had hardened. They, that is the poor Tierra del Fuegians, they possessed hardly any arts, and like wild animals, lived on what they could catch. They had no government and were merciless to everyone not of their tribe. Darwin goes on to aver that he would rather be descended from a monkey or baboon who manifested traits of loyalty and self-sacrifice as from, quote, a savage who delights to torture his enemies, offers up bloody sacrifices, practices infanticide without remorse, treats his wives like slaves, knows no decency, and is haunted by the grossest superstitions. That's in The Descent of Man. Darwin also, unfortunately, spends a whole chapter in Descent explaining how inferior races have been supplanted by superior ones, and even at the present day, civilized nations are everywhere supplanting barbarous ones. He explains this not by reference to guns, but as being due to the working out through natural selection of the effects of better intellectual and moral faculties and sensibilities. Though quite how moral sensibilities are supposed to help is unclear, given that their development may well lead to decadence and decline, as we will see. And he also points out that human development is not from a basic level from which some races declined, but rather an ascent from lower forms of humanity, which are progressively supplanted by higher forms. I say again, he doesn't mention in this supplantation the rifle. That his Victorian contemporaries might not be taking sufficient care in this area worries him. In Descent, he notices a tendency for the unfit, this is in our own society, the inferior in body and mind, even the abject poor to breed. If mankind is to advance, we must uncover the laws of inheritance and then legislate against marriages among the biologically inferior. We must not encourage the poor to marry because abject poverty tends to its own increase by leading to recklessness in marriage. To counterbalance this, we have to encourage the prudent and the able to rear the largest number of offspring. Man, he says, like every other animal, has no doubt advanced to his present high condition through a struggle for existence consequent on his rapid multiplication. If it is to advance further, it is to be feared he must remain subject to a severe struggle. Above all, we must ensure that the struggle for existence is not suffered in its severity by, quote, again, well-intentioned laws and customs. There must continue to be open competition for all men, otherwise mankind would sink into indolence and the more gifted men would not be more successful in the battle of life than the less gifted. Now, all those quotations are very easy to find. They're all in the general summary from The Descent of Man, Volume 2, at the end.